From commercial break, we come with our last session, and we are still with our dear guest, Honorable Henry Vanyenzachi. We had an interrogative session where I was giving him questions to tell us, because there is where I do not blame him, but say he has been in policy implementation, and a number of some of these occurrences, we expect a lot from especially those who've been part of the system to contribute better than even us who bring such a kind of discussion. But yet we don't hold them to be responsible for some of the failures, but we take it collectively to agree and look at where there are challenges that we can solve once and for all. Someone outside there, you may say we are talking about disaster, but for you are well. There's no country, no region or district in this country which has not suffered from a disaster in one or the other. When we were going for the commercial break, we talked about the challenge of refugee. At a certain time, we thank God that we also, maybe there are some, those who went and became refugees in Kenya, and those also are coming in this country who have accommodated a good number of refugees. And the impact of these refugees on our economy, of course, it is not yet realized, much as it is maybe an assistance, a humanitarian assistance granted to our neighbors. But why should it remain like this? The influx of refugees from Kisoro. We saw, people carrying their luggages and so forth from Kisoro, and they come with associated problems, socio-economic challenges. We also have the continuous harboring of refugees here in Western Uganda, the Changwali land question, where even some of the citizens lost their land that was allocated to the refugees. It was, by the way, a serious debate. I was there and I couldn't understand how could the refugees replace citizens. And finally, the land where they replaced citizens was now being claimed by another person who came with the land title. These are challenges that we are saying, no, something needs to be done because they affect our economy. It is yet not yet resolved also in the northwestern Uganda, of where those refugees from Sudan. And after the war, they cannot go back. And of course, they remain as a burden on our Ugandan land. All these are unresolved questions because they contribute to the part of the economic instability we are talking about. And that's why I bring it back to you as we come up with an analysis and also propose the recommendation. This should come to an end and maybe we move forward.
The question of refugees?
Yes, sir.
The question of refugees we can say in Africa, it's a self-inflicted problem. I want to look at this question of refugees from the holistic point of view, not from a macro point of view of an individual having a title where the refugees are supposed to be and the citizens fighting with the refugees for land. In the first instance, these refugees are a creation and a product of wars. Why should we be having wars in Africa? You're having a country fighting against the other, brother fighting against a brother, and brothers and sisters being used. Why can't Africa unite together against these aggressors? Why do we in Africa accept to be used? You are talking about refugees in Kisoro. These are refugees from Congo, refugees from West Nile, from Congo, from Sudan. Who is fighting in those countries? Why should the Sudanese, why should the people from the southern Sudanese, why should there be tribal wars that are clashing together? Why should the people in Congo be fighting against each other? Why should the Congo be accepted to be used? The problem in Congo can be sorted out by the Congolese itself. The problem of Africa can be sorted out by Africa itself. Mm-hmm. Why do we fight against ourselves? Why were we having refugees in Uganda? Why was Uganda generating refugees from Uganda within Uganda? Because brother was fighting against brother. We had reached a point, the North, the South fighting the North. Doesn't make sense. Why should I be fighting with Mao? Mao is my brother. Mm-hmm. So encourage a united Uganda, united Africa, united people
But is it possible?
Why? How come that in Tanzania, it is also a multi-tribalistic nation? Do you hear Tanzania fighting because there are tribes from different tribes? We have people, the Northerners and the Southerners.
Would you go into the in-depth of the discussion to look at the cause of these fights in Congo?
The fight of
how
Congo,
it can end?
why they are fighting in Congo is because the international community, it is the international community fighting in Congo. Trace it from the period when, who was this prime minister? You remind me about this prime minister of Congo who was murdered on the oncoming of Mobutu Sese Seko, who was used by the imperialists. He killed he killed the prime minister. You remind me the name. And they brought in Mobutu Sese Seko. He instituted the bad governance of the highest order. After Mobutu Sese Seko, you are having Kabila the senior. After Kabila the senior, you have Kabila the junior. You now have this government, which the Congolese problem. Why we are having wars in the Congolese is just the Congolese people have allowed the international community to fight within Congo. And they are fighting for these resources.
Are the international community the ones fighting? Because we are having them.
Who are these militias?
We have the M23.
Listen, my brother. When you are having in this Congo, the international community, the militias, the international community, those multinationals, they pay the nationals to create militias to protect them as they do their route of mining of the minerals. Mind you, Congo is the richest country in the world, the richest resource country. It is the country with the resources, the richest country.
Resources, mineral resources.
Yes, in the world. Congo is richer than the whole of Europe put together. Congo is richer than the whole of Europe.
The gold, the cobalt.
Put together. Congo is richer than the America put together. But yet it is the poorest country in the world. Why? Because of instability. Why? Because the Congolese people have not united to get to know their problem. So if only we Africans could know that our problem is inherent, is within, and we unite together to fight the aggressors, we wouldn't be having refugees. Uganda now is a peaceful country. Why? Because we have come to a point and reach and say that, yes, we need to be united together. Southerners don't need to fight Northerners. I, Banyenzachi, am a Muchiga. I do not have to fight Mao because Mao is a Northerner. He is a brother. I don't have to fight, this business of saying that Bacholi are bad, people from the Northern are bad. You put and inherently educate the people, inculcate hatred of one community against the other, and then they are fighting and having crashes. So if all these countries in Uganda, we are having this, then you don't have refugees. We don't have refugees because we are not fighting each other. You are having refugees in Somalia because brothers are fighting against brother. Why are the people in Somalia not united?
Now having the
Why are the people in, at one time, where was there genocide in Rwanda? Why was brothers? Why were people, a neighbor killing a neighbor? Why? Because people are not united. Why is all this thing you want to ask me? Bad leadership. What is bad leadership? This is bad leadership. Where is it coming from? We have leaders who are listening to foreigners, imperialists. I've talked about how how our leaders, the founding fathers of Africa, were killed, and the imperialists were using this, killing these good leaders. Assassination. Go in Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah was assassinated by his own people, by his own brother. Go to Burkina Faso.
So you are saying the refugee...
Sankara was killed by his own brother.
The refugee problem is caused by...
How did we get Amini? Amini, we got Amini because of the imperial influence. So, my friend, the whole crisis now, we were talking about in the first session, we are talking about policy gaps, implementation gaps. Now here in the refugees, it is a leadership gap.
It's a leadership gap?
Yes, we have leadership gaps in Africa. We have leaders that are not uniting their people.
So now we are going to look at the
mitigation. If we had a leadership gap in Uganda, now we would be exporting, we would be having refugees. At a time when we have a leadership gap, and we had we we had the refugees.
Honorable, listen, this
Now
as-
we want to hear this.
Yes.
Okay? Now that we have President Museveni who have united Uganda, we don't have the leadership gap. He has united the whole country. We are now working together. Do we still have refugees? No.
But we are having refugees who are coming to the country.
From other countries, and that's the point I'm making. Why are we having refugees from South Sudan? Because South Sudan, the people of Southern Sudan are not united. Why should it, I don't know, why should there be those tribal wars? Garang, the President Garang comes from one tribe, Rachel Machar is coming from that tribe, then these tribes must fight. Today we have had a declaration of a president in Kenya. The president is a Kalenjin. The one who was defeated, who was close, was a Luo. Should now the Kalenjin fight with the Luo?
Not at all.
Because the Kalenjin has been declared a president? No.
Okay, here
Let's have the good leadership of Ruto. Unite the people of Kenya.
Okay, allow me to...
Like how Mwalimu Julius Nyerere united
allow me to pause,
of Tanzania.
Allow me to pose this final request.
And then you will not have refugees in this region.
Of the submissions.
You will not have refugees in Africa.
Honorable Nyezachi.
Why should we be
Listen a bit.
African?
Listen a bit.
I'm so passionate about that.
We have 5 minutes to go. And there are some of the substantive matters you might have said it, but we want to end our evening very well and look at the substantive policy proposals, recommendation proposals that may fill now holistically the gaps of a number of disasters that we've made.
We are now on refugees.
And no, now we are done. Allow me to moderate it this way. We want to now to conclude it generally with our topic, which was referring to the disaster management policy and the socioeconomic stability. What we are now seeming to be posing to us, to the viewers, that maybe leaves them with some hope that there is some hope ahead of us in managing disaster, not to continue the way it is, and to have maybe a hope for economic stability. Just in some of the few words within 4 minutes, and we close our program.
On disaster management.
General now, yes, disaster management.
Well, let me wrap up with what I was talking about refugees.
I would like it to be general.
Let there
now.
be peace in Africa. Let us, Africa, unite. Let us, Africa, fight the aggressors. And when it comes to countries, let's be united. Let's have borrow leaf. Let's just borrow leaf from like Tanzania. You don't hear wars in Tanzania because the people, the tribes of Tanzania were united by Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, a very good leadership, a very good leader. So if you have leadership, meaningful leadership, you will not have internal wars. We do not have internal wars here in Uganda because we have been united together under the NRM. It gets the credit. So if we are going to talk about this Congo, let us see our sisters and brothers, the Pan-African spirit, the African Union. Let us be a united Africa.
Let's look at the substantive
when we are talking about,
recommendations.
okay, fine, about this, we want to talk about disaster management.
Yes, substantive
Let there
recommendations.
be coherent policy implementation. If we are talking about coherent policy implementation, we have made, for example, a budget, and money was budgeted for disaster management. The disaster, you don't manage a disaster when it falls. You can predict early warning signs. So let that money, if money has been budgeted for that kind of ministry, let money be. Don't chop that money, and then you start firefighting when that disaster falls. Let there be coherent implementation of policies. Let there be coherent implementation and coordination of ministries. Ministries, department, and agencies should talk to each other. If Minister of Agriculture is not talking to Minister of Finance, and Finance is not providing enough funds for Minister of Agriculture, there will be no production. If there is no production, then you are going to have food shortage. If you are going to have food shortage, then you have hunger. If you are not having Minister of Finance talking to Minister of Energy to have fuel reserves, you are going to have fuel shortage in this country. And when there is a fuel shortage in this country, the prices, any problem within the fuel crisis will trigger the prices of fuel to go up. When it goes up, then you are going to have inflation, because of the transport costs. When the inflation cost goes high, it affects everything. If we are talking about, even then when we are talking about agriculture, why should we have a ministry of natural resources and water management? Water management, why don't you manage our water effectively and efficiently to have irrigation agriculture? Why should we have below 1% of irrigation agriculture?
Thank you so much
Provide
for your
money.
contribution.
Why should we depend on fruits imported from Egypt due to irrigation from waters of the Nile? Yet we have the water here and we can't irrigate our own orchards.
I'm out of time because of
you
that.
know, when we are talking about kind of things, you know, sometimes you become a bit passionate about these matters. But we need better management, as we are talking, the management, prudent management. Fight the corruption, even I didn't talk about that. If money has been allocated, let the money go, let there be value for money, not having scandals within these departments that do manage them.
Thank you so much. All right, this has been the point, discussing and analyzing the economic policies. We look at diverse factors that do affect our economic stability. Disaster management, disaster is part of it. I appreciate Honorable Anyenzachi for your time that you've granted to us and the viewers to come and deliberate and give us your analytical opinion. And we continue until we meet again on Wednesday. But we do inspire everyone outside there as a Ugandan, responsible Ugandan, that it is important to underline, to look at a number of factors, that we need community participation in this process of managing what affects us, not to have a well, stable economy. We must participate to be part of the solving problem dimension. We need public awareness and education, and this is what we do here, to come and we share with you information that is pertinent to know possibly what may be a cause of these imbalances. Why should the dollar continue to be stronger and yet a shilling becomes weaker? What is the root cause of all these challenges? We also continue to inspire you outside there and who are part of this system that institutional capacity building is important, and adequate expertise and technology being in a position to do research and mitigate these challenges, and the readiness to overcome a number of disaster challenges. With this, we believe we can be part of the evolving society that will bring the economic transformation of humanity. Thank you for staying with us on Smart 24 TV. Until we see you on Wednesday at the same time, God bless you. Good night.